I got sacked on Friday after I unintentionally humiliated the boss's disabled daughter. Despite my solid work performance, my manager decided I wasn't a good fit for the company. I've spent the entire weekend wrestling with anxiety, dreading the reality of having to hunt for a new job. Explaining why I was let go from this position is going to be a nightmare. I'm writing this down to sort through the chaos in my mind, as everything feels like a whirlwind right now. I'd been with the company for 3 months, still in my probationary period. My role was in sales and advertising. As the new guy, I was assigned existing client accounts to manage, which involved servicing clients and persuading them to invest more in advertising campaigns. These accounts already had their ad campaigns set up, and if a client wanted something new, the account would be handed over to a senior account manager who'd work with our ad team to create something fresh for the client. My goal was to prove I could maintain these accounts and convince clients to spend more. Things were going smoothly until last week's quarterly company retreat. Since we were the main regional office, employees from satellite locations came to our headquarters for the retreat. The company owner, who rarely visits our office, was there. My coworkers mentioned he's been focused on setting up a new satellite office for the past year. He attended the retreat along with his disabled daughter, whom I'll call Sarah for privacy. A colleague told me Sarah works at one of the satellite offices, so I wouldn't likely interact with her much, but I should be kind if I did. That seemed like a no-brainer. I'm polite to everyone. I'm no expert on Sarah's disability, but she seemed to have childlike behaviors and was eager to prove herself. She also had some motor skill challenges. Let me describe the one interaction I had with her before the incident. I went to refill my coffee, and Sarah was ahead of me, struggling to add creamer and put a lid on her cup. I politely asked if she needed assistance. She thanked me, said she had it under control, and let me take over. While I was helping, she loudly mentioned that she dislikes coffee, but drinks it because her dad insists, drawing attention to herself. I smiled, said that was definitely important, and handed her the cup. She thanked me again and headed back to the office her dad was using, where she spent most of her time. I felt like I'd done a small good deed and went about my day. Most of the retreat involved team-building activities. Before the incident, Sarah only joined the puzzle round, where teams assembled puzzles without the box image to see who could finish fastest. She wasn't on my team, so we didn't interact there. None of our teams won. The highlight everyone was excited about was the final activity of the day. Our boss gave us a list of potential clients, and in groups we had to pick 3 and create something to impress them. We were told we'd be judged on creativity. My group decided we could make visuals, slogans, jingles, anything we wanted. Each person was expected to work on one individually, then collaborate with the group to refine it before presenting to everyone. This was a big deal because in past retreats, some clients on the list were ones the owner was close to signing, and impressing him could land you that account. I went with a jingle, wrote some lyrics, and recorded it. It was silly, but fit the brand. My group gave me feedback, we made tweaks, and I recorded the final version. I helped my teammates with their projects until it was time to submit everything. Afterward, we gathered in the main conference room to critique each other's work. The owner went through each submission one by one, displaying visuals, reading scripts, or playing audio, and we gave feedback, positive or negative. Some presentations were impressive, earning lots of praise, while others were terrible, and we laughed about them as a group. You could tell the senior account managers didn't take the exercise too seriously or put in much effort. Nobody seemed overly thrilled or upset by the feedback, regardless of how it landed. When my jingle played, it got mixed reactions, not all positive, but I took the feedback with a grin. After that, I felt more comfortable sharing my thoughts on others' work. I gave what I thought was constructive feedback on a few, chuckled at others, and then a rather crude poster for the same company I'd chosen came up. I laughed and said, "Well, at least my jingle was better than that. Did a toddler draw it?" The room went dead silent. I was baffled because people had been joking and laughing all along. Instead, some looked at me like I was a monster, and the owner said, "If you don't have anything nice to say, maybe keep it to yourself." My boss then leaned over, told me to leave, and go back to my desk immediately. As I gathered my things, I noticed Sarah, the owner's daughter, was red-faced and starting to cry. That ended my participation in the team-building activities. It dawned on me that the poster was Sarah's work, There was no indication beforehand about who created what until after critiques. Maybe I would have known if there had been a heads up. Everyone had been laughing and having fun up to that point, and another terrible submission had gotten laughs too. Regardless, I felt awful. After the event, I approached my boss to apologize, but he told me to wait in his office. Long story short, I was fired. He said, since I was still in my probationary period, he decided I wasn't a good fit for the company, and it was best to let me go now. He didn't explicitly say it was because of my comment about Sarah's poster, but that was the only issue I'd ever had. My performance had been stellar until then. I didn't have much time to process it because security was called, escorted me to my desk to grab my belongings, and walked me out of the building. An hour later, a former teammate called, asking if I'd join the team for one last drink. They felt bad about not saying goodbye after the retreat and needed to unwind. I wasn't in the mood, but I wanted to make sense of what happened, so I went to the bar. In the back of my mind, I figured networking with former colleagues could help since I'd need references for my job search, especially since I wouldn't get one from my boss or the owner after this. The team explained that Sarah attends all these retreats and always submits rough work. Everyone knows to say something nice and move on. One teammate said her submissions are recognizable if you've seen them before. Well, I hadn't, and nobody warned me. I started feeling frustrated that this was common knowledge, and I was the only one left in the dark. But what could I do? I'd already messed up and it cost me my job. The team shared more about Sarah. She works at a satellite office but doesn't do much real work. The staff there keep her busy with tasks to avoid upsetting her, essentially acting as her babysitters so she doesn't disturb her dad when he's around. When he moved on to set up the new satellite office, he didn't bring Sarah along because she'd made friends at her current location. They also mentioned that her dad tried setting her up with some guys in the office, which seemed inappropriate, but he owns the company. The team said Sarah desperately wants a boyfriend and talks about marriage constantly. They believe she doesn't fully grasp how relationships or marriage work, and her dad likely planted the idea in her head. One teammate joked that marrying her wouldn't be a bad deal since she's the owner's only child. I wasn't in the mood for jokes after losing my job over this, so I said I had to leave. The silver lining is that my former teammates offered to provide references if I needed them, feeling guilty for not warning me about the Sarah situation. Oh, and the cherry on top? Sarah sent me a Facebook friend request over the weekend. I haven't accepted it. I already hurt her, and it cost me my job. Part of me wants to accept, apologize, and then block her, but I'm not sure I'm ready for that either. I'll take a few days to regroup and then start polishing my resume. I took his advice, along with those of you who encouraged me, especially via DMS. So I accepted Sarah's friend request and immediately sent an apology. I said I shouldn't have mocked anyone's work, that it was unprofessional, and I was sorry. It took her a while to reply, but when she did, she thanked me for apologizing and said she'd sent the friend request to apologize to me for getting me fired. I told her she didn't owe me an apology. After a long pause, she asked if she could copy-paste something. I wasn't sure what it was, but said she could. She sent a generic message she'd clearly spent time crafting. I won't quote it verbatim, but it was something like, "Hi, I'm Sarah. Sorry if I'm slow to respond. I had a brain injury as a child, so it takes me a while to write things out." There was more, but that's the gist. I replied that it was no problem, and she could take all the time she needed. Sarah and I ended up messaging back and forth until nearly 3 a.m. No, we didn't fall in love or plan a date. I'm not marrying her to take down her dad's company, but I think I want to be her friend. Not out of pity, but because she's genuinely kind. And honestly, everyone could use a friend like that. We talked a lot about her life. She was in a car accident as a kid, riding with her mom when a drunk driver hit them on the way back from a classmate's birthday party. Her mom didn't survive, and Sarah sustained a brain injury that affects her motor skills. Because it makes speaking and simple tasks like dressing or making coffee difficult, people often assume she's mentally challenged. She was placed in special education because of it, but worked hard and graduated high school. She wanted to go to college, but her dad didn't think it was a good idea. Her life is tough because communicating with people is hard. By the time she forms a full sentence, conversations often move on. She can type faster, but most people don't want to text in person. She even mentioned sometimes using a tablet and pretending to be mute because it's easier. We circled back to the poster and my awful comment. She wasn't too hurt by it because she assumed I didn't know about her challenges. She was more upset because she knew chaos would erupt, and she couldn't communicate quickly enough to explain. She was devastated when she learned I got fired and tried talking to her dad, But he wouldn't listen. She's aware that many at the company only say nice things because she's the owner's daughter, but she has a few friends at her satellite office who understand her better. She gets frustrated because she can't contribute much, but she's happy when they find tasks for her. It might take her all day to do something others could do in hours, but it's better than sitting idle. She knows she's a burden when her dad's around, but loves him and wishes she could be a daughter he's proud of, not a responsibility. She tries emailing or texting him, but he rarely responds, often giving one-word replies like yes or no. She thanked me again for helping with her coffee. When she was younger, she'd get upset if people helped her, but now she appreciates those who do, as most just look away or wait awkwardly. It was late for both of us. She takes a long time to respond, and her messages have typos, which I now understand. I'd initially described her as having childish mannerisms, but that was my misunderstanding. When she tries to speak quickly or gets excited, she gets loud, which can seem like an overexcited child rather than an adult trying to communicate. We ended our chat agreeing to talk again. She asked if I'd seen the first episode of House of the Dragon, which I hadn't, and she suggested we discuss it after I watch it. I told her I'd love that. So that's the update. Sorry to those expecting me to plot against her dad's company, I'm definitely not doing that. Talking to Sarah made me feel much better. I'm not sure how I'll address the firing in future interviews, but some of you suggested leaving this job off my resume since it was only 3 months, and I might do that. I hope there's no need for more updates, but at least this has a happier ending than my first post. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and stay tuned for more real-life experiences.